Hey, good looking. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Kendra Morgan Official. Today I will be putting together for you a video on single eyeshadows, but I also feature makeup brushes that aren't Morphe and sunscreen. So if you like that kind of content, make sure you subscribe to my channel. And let's get started. Today I'll be featuring a dupe for the brand new Artist Couture Ethereal Bloom Palette. And I will be featuring single shadows from brands like Coastal Scents, Sydney Grace, and Makeup Geek. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stick around because I will show you them. I'll give you guys some swatches of those single shadows and then I will put together this look. I want to say it's a mini tutorial, but I'm back at it and I gave you the full-on tutorial. So everything's going to be time-stamped below for your convenience. You can use it. Also, I am going to give you guys a savings cost breakdown, so how much I saved by not purchasing the palette. Okay, let's get started. I want to get started with the single shadow swatches. Before I do that, let me show you the palette. Look at this. So I put together this palette and I will also feature over here the Artist Couture palette right above it, so you guys can see the differences and the similarities that I have in my dupe palette for you guys. So let's get started with some dupes, some dupe swatches, some swatchy swatches, whatever. So in the Ethereal Bloom Palette, the first shade is Eternity, and I use Makeup Geek's Creme Brulee to dupe that. I feel like it's a creamy brown that leans nice and warm, gives me all of the vacation vibes, so I felt like that was a really good match for it. The next shadow is Flourish. Ooh, they feature it here on their Instagram page. It's like its own groundbreaking shade. And it is duped by Makeup Geek's Staycation. I don't think that shadow name is out of coincidence. I think that Staycation fits this perfectly. This is a very peachy pink, as they described on the Artist Couture page. Pink of Me by Makeup Geek dupes Poppy in the Artist Couture palette. I could be off on this, and I will go into that in a little bit and touch into that a little bit further and later on down. But it's just a really good peachy pink that I think would just really fit in this palette gorgeously. Artist Couture's Ethereal Bloom Goddess shade, so the last shadow on the top row, gets duped by Coastal Scents' Hot Tamale. It's just a beautiful, vibrant pink magenta shade. I love it. Lavender Dreams by Makeup Geek's rebrand. Sorry, I know I've got some of the rounds and some of the Makeup Geek rebrand. I'm going to get better about putting what's rebranded and what is the old stuff. So just bear with me. Lavender Dreams dupes Petal. I think that is almost like spot on. It may be just a smidge lighter, but for my skin tone it matches. If it really wasn't your desire to have it that light, there are other shades that I felt like were deeper purples, but they just didn't capture that lilac shadow anymore, that lavender, that lilac. So if you were a little bit deeper in tone, Lavender Dreams may not quite be it for you. Sydney Grace's Always Yours dupes the shade Glorious. Glorious I had problems with. In the picture, put it up here, it looks almost bronzy pink in some of the picture, and then when I looked at the swatches, I was like, that's definitely a cool tone pink. And I talked with my friend about it and she said, yeah, that's a cool tone pink. So I went with Always Yours by Sydney Grace because that is a very cool tone pink slash almost like a lilac. So I feel like that fits it. And probably my happiest moment, Coastal Scents Teal Green dupes the shade Angelic from the Artist Couture palette. This shade blew me away. You guys are going to see that when I go into the tutorial, but the shade just blew me away. I thought it just fit so wonderfully, so well, and it worked. It just blended out like a dream over the top of the Sydney Grace shadow that I'm getting ready to talk to you about next. But it just captured that beautiful, like, Bahamas, just vacation vibes, spring, flowers, floral, everything about it. It captured it. So I really, really, truly did feel very comfortable busting out the teal green. Last shade in the Artist Couture palette is shade Divinity, and I used the shade from Sydney Grace, Mint Green. And for that, I think I captured a beautiful aquamarine shadow that has a very icy shift to it, just like the Artist Couture palette. So I felt like that really, really went together well. The Artist Couture palette is available for sale as of yesterday, and it retails for $30. And if you break that down, 8 shadows, $30, you have about $3.75 to spend. So I did dupe the palette under $30. So depending on how you buy the matrix or how you buy the Makeup Geek shadows, if you just bought them individually, they're between $5 and $7 depending on which finish you get. I bought them as a matrix palette, so I spent about $3.22 per shadow because I got my Mega Vault palettes included in the price. And then the Pink of Me round was $1 or maybe $2. We'll put it on the upper end. We'll put it as $2. And then the Coastal Scents, I bought them on sale for 99 cents a piece. And of course these shadows were $6, but I always buy Sydney Grace when they're having sales, and they usually do it Christmas in July, and then they do a Black Friday special. So then I usually get, I would say, about 20% off of that $6. So it's bringing it down to, somewhere around the $5 range, $4 or $5 range. So with that said, I still stayed under the $30 price point, but if you found this palette speaking to you, by all means, I think it would be a wonderful addition to your collection. I personally, when I put the palette together, thought to myself, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. And then when I looked at it again, it screamed Kendra. It's neutral with a pop of color. And those pops of colors are just so easy to incorporate within the palette. And let me show you just how easy it is to do neutral with that pop of color in this tutorial. Take a look. Okay, so for the look that you've already seen, by the way, I'm going to go in and create a warm transition with this top row, and then cut the crease and put in some of this aqua coloring. I think I probably won't use any of this. Yeah, I'll just stick to these colors right here. So let's begin by warming up the crease with creme brulee. I thought it was creme brulee, but I wasn't 100%. I hope you guys like the new close-up ones. I know that some people have been saying, like, can you do a little bit closer up when you do the eyeshadow tutorials? I just assumed you guys didn't really watch them because I was like, those days are over with, right? Everybody's moved on. I guess not. We still like a good tutorial that can act as a brow bone highlight or inner corner highlight. Don't know. We'll get there. We'll figure things out as we go. And using the Smith 232 is what I was using. Sorry. I need to get back into telling you what brushes I'm using. So, Smith 230. Let's deepen up that crease. Oops, I know. Staycation. Makeup Geek's Staycation. Right there. And when I bring this up and around, it's just going to stay kind of above that crease. So my crease is right here. Just stay kind of up and around so it keeps it open. It's a little bit more banana shaped. And I'm not really worried about filling in this part because this is going to be probably that aqua color. Deepening it, I would say, to a medium intensity, just for the purposes of like cutting the crease. You want to have a little bit of contrast. So do one final dip, lay the shade just right in that crease, and this time I'm just barely blending up and around. Ooh la la. Let's also run some underneath in the lower lash line. This is excess, what's left on my brush, and then I'll dip back in. I really don't like using these types of shadows because now I look sickly, do I not? I feel like I look sick. back out, or with a clean blending brush, just blend over that top portion, smoothing everything out. We're not even. No, we're definitely not. Alright, now that that's fairly nice and blended, I shall cut my crease with just some concealer here. For 21, trying to figure out, like, do I want a soft cut crease or do I want this harsh? Let's make it, not harsh, but dramatic. Tap off this. Oh yes, honey. I got a little concealer up here. That's okay, I just kind of go over it when I do that. Let's do the other side. That's the secret. You can always cut one side. It's the other side that's the difficult. So now that they are pretty much cut similarly, grab the shade Mint Green on my P21 brush. I think I'll just use it dry. I don't think this needs to be. No, it's still got a little bit of tackiness to it, so. I feel like the palette is missing a shade that's light enough to blend into on the inner portion, but I think, you know, for 8 shadows, I think it's still okay, but it may possibly be a companion palette. It may not be a standalone palette. I feel like this is missing a brow bone, this is missing inner corner, this is missing that really light shade that I think people want for a tropical palette. And it could just be that I didn't dupe one of the pinks correctly, and one of them is a lot lighter than, you know, what I have in my collection. And if that's the case, then it's probably just fine. Sydney Grace is going on like a dream. Basically just stamping the shadow on. No issues. Alright, on the other side, I think I'm going to wet the brush. Although I don't know how that's going to work. A, because my brush is kind of drying down from the concealer tackiness, and B, I want to see if this will intensify any. A little bit. I think it did fine on the other side dry, or relatively dry, I should say. I noticed this is a little bit crumblier for a Sydney Grace shadow, but I do feel like it's the nature of the shadow and not the formula, if that makes any sense. I think these aqua shades are just a little bit more trickier to work with. I do think it intensified the color just a smidge, so I may go ahead and bring another layer on this side with the brush spritzed with some setting spray. There we go. I am really enjoying the colors in this palette. Okay, let's deepen up this outer V some, or let's attempt to anyways, with a small brush, the number 12 by Ehtereal. And this is going to be Coastal Scents Teal Green. Let me showcase that bad boy right there. Let me just show you this awesome pigmentation that it has. Look at that, that's pretty good. And I'm starting out really pretty light because this is a shadow that I definitely would anticipate. Oh honey, that's, oh my gosh, that's beautiful. So I'm layering that over that aqua just a little bit. It's gorgeous, but I'm tapping it on gently because it is so dark. I do expect it to have some fallout. Plus it's a cheap shadow, so I'm going to prepare myself for it. Brace myself for impact, if you will. And just kind of bring it up and around. I don't know if this is definitely not like a normal everyday look for me. And I'm packing a little of that shadow on top of that aquamarine and just giving her all she's got for the tropical vibes. I think it's really working well though. Yeah, I think that looks amazing. I don't know why I feel like I have to have the biggest mirror that I can possibly have to try and hide from you folks. Still keeping that like kind of butterfly wing effect, but just blending. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave the lower lash line as is. I might add some dark brown, or I'll probably just do dark brown liner, and then I will put some lashes on, and I will see you right back here in just a moment. Okay guys, I showed you the look. I did add a little bit of Makeup Geek liner in brown on the waterline up there, just to kind of give it a little bit more depth, a little bit more full, because this is a very bright, sunny, floral look. I felt like it needed a little bit more grounding. So let's go ahead and kind of talk about the palette, what I think of the palette. I enjoyed putting this one together. I really loved the Artist Couture palette. I'm so glad that I was able to find shadows in my collection to dupe it with. And if you guys find some shadows in your collection, leave me a comment down below those shadows that you are going to use to dupe the Artist Couture palette with. And with that, I do want to make some amendments, or some, nominations, if you will, to what I would change on the palette if it were me and up to me. Personally, I think that the Pink of Me shadow may not have hit as close to home as I would like, just because it does look very similar to Staycation. It's just a different finish. And so when you're talking about a palette that's only 8 shadows deep, you really have to have varying depths of hues and finishes, and really like feature a lot of variety in a very short amount of powder, I guess you can say. And I'm just not sure that, I mean, this seems a little bit pink heavy as far as that goes. I think if I were going to do it, I would either switch out the Pink of Me shadow, or even maybe this Hot Tamale shadow, and put in a duochrome. I felt like the palette was missing a shadow to feature on the brow bone or the inner corner, and I can do fine without a brow bone highlight, believe it or not, because you could just use like your powder foundation, or just like a lighter concealer or something like that. I can do without that. But my inner corner, I just felt like it needed a little something, and it just wasn't there in the palette. Granted, there are only 8 shadows, so it could be more of a companion palette. I'm not exactly sure, although I do think with the number of mattes and shimmers that they have in there featured, that it probably is meant to be a standalone palette. For example, I would probably feature a shadow such as I know you guys are probably sick and tired of me talking about this shadow, because it comes up in almost every single video, it seems like. But I would probably put in The Greatest Gift by Sydney Grace, or something similar to that. It is a pink, and then the duochrome is like a nice green shift to it. You guys can see that, maybe not, I don't know. But I just think that it just really, like, I know my lights are kind of blowing me out here. It just gives that beautiful shimmer. And then you can also put it in this corner coming up into your eyeshadow, and that would have given it even more depth, more dimension, thus giving you the appearance that you've used like even more shadows and you only have 8. So it would have featured something similar to that. Alongside that, if you were going to substitute out some shades, for the Pink of Me, I probably would have selected a duochrome, and a lot of brands have these duochromes. This is Makeup Geek's Wildfire, and I just went ahead and pressed it in a pan. But it is your classic, it's like, it's your classic Makeup Geek Cosmopolitan MAC expensive pink duochrome, that kind of thing. I forget what Inglots, that's like 407 maybe, that shade. And it's just like one of my favorite duochromes ever. And that's honestly what I probably would have put, because you know me, I'm a duochrome kind of girl. That's just what I would have done. And I'm surprised that the palette doesn't contain any duochromes in it, because I just feel like that would have given it a little bit more uniqueness and another reason for people to purchase. Other than that, I really feel like I demonstrated we all have these shadows in our palettes. We don't need to buy it. But that just, you know what I'm talking about. There's a pink there, and then it gives you that like peachy gold champagne shift. Oh, so gorgeous. A lot of shadows, or a lot of brands have them. I think Sydney Grace has one that's like that, but I don't think I own it. You could also easily go with a shadow like Sydney Grace's Winter Green, or excuse me, Winter Garden, and that is more, it leans a little bit more purple and it plays off the purple a little bit more, but it does have a kind of blue-green shift to it, so it kind of covers all of your green bases, your purple, and I think it also pairs well with the pinks. So let me go ahead and give you guys a swatch of that right quick. See that? That to me could also be in the running for a definite. If you were going to go with an inner corner and replace that hot tamale shade, I think something like Makeup Geek's Prism, where it has like a really, really, really strong, I don't know if you're even going to see it, golden shift. It is also a duochrome. Yeah, not gonna happen today, folks. It's a white shade with that like orangey yellow duochrome shift. I'm probably, no, it's not gonna happen. But anyways, just know that that's what it is. It's gorgeous. I love it. And just fabulous, just fabulous. Something like that to really make the palette stand apart would have really been ideal for an 8-pan palette like this. I think even aside from all of the derivatives I've come up with or shadows that I would include, I still think it's a great palette. So if you're going to go out and own it, that's great. I think it's awesome. Let's go ahead and put some savings together. With all of the palettes that I have duped thus far in the year 2021, so my Pistachio palette, the Kaleidos Club Nebula, my Mini Love by Natasha Denona, my Pat McGrath Labs Quad, in Eternal Eden, NARS Uninhibited, Raw Beauty Christie, Artist Couture, I'm going to save $245 on just the product palettes alone. So excellent savings. We are only about, what, 2 months in, and we've already saved well into $200. So I couldn't ask for a better savings counter. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure that you subscribe to my channel. If I'm your vibe, make sure you subscribe, okay? I can't wait to see you guys in the next video.